like to pass the homework back. Talk for a little bit. We start this thing up in about, let's see, that would be, I give you 2 hours for it. 3:45, 2:45, 1:45. Start at 1:45. That way I can give you all the homework back, maybe 2 o'clock, because I need to get part of the offshore stuff done, an intro into it. Unless you guys have a real longing to just jump right into this. This way, even though I'm up here rattling on, you'd have all your homework and you can look it over. Because some of this is directly applicable to what you're going to see on this quiz. This is really a quiz on steroids. Don't say, I know what you think of quiz. This is really a test. I call it a quiz. This one's really close to it. It's not 100 points. I can't call it a test, but it's close. But it's just lots of drawings and lots of stuff. You need to know your drawings on this one. You need to know your definitions and all of that stuff. Yes, sir.
Does that mean I could go grab my other notebook?
Yeah, go whatever you want, because I'm not going to start this until, that says 2. Straight up at 3 o'clock on that clock, I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing and hand it out. Does that sound all right? Okay, Mr. Christensen, where are you at? You're not here. Okay. Probably people failed today. Jared.
Yes.
Here you go.
Plenty of chance to get quizzes on it.
Oh, they're just interesting. I'm going to have to start calling them tests. I guess here's Jeremy. Here's another one for you. Jared, there's another one for you. Lacey, there's one for you. And another one for you. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I had these posted. I need all this stuff back that I'm handing to you at the end of the class period. Because I got distracted doing college business today. So.
That means it has been graded?
Oh, it's graded, but it hasn't been posted.
Oh,
Brandon.
Gotcha.
Oh, you're up there. I was looking for you. Sorry about that. Harley. Yes, be sure that you get them back to me. Okay, Sean, where you at? Down
And
here?
we can use it for the test, right?
You can use it to study.
But that's fine.
It's not open book, Harley.
Mine.
Man, Connor, where are you at? You were coming through the door, weren't you? You can keep it though.
Yeah, I'll
look at it. And go ahead and use it to study. Shatter is right here. Owen, that's you? Yeah. Kevin is not here yet. This will allow some of our late comers to get here. We've got some instructors that don't get here right away. Mitchell. There's another one there. Yeah, you just one. There's another one for you.
Right.
So someone off there. There, Benjamin. Fox out here. Benny, are you there?
Yeah.
You're up. You don't ever sit up. Well, you must sit there at oil and gas. That's Brad. There's another one for you.
Sure am still.
Good drawings.
Sure am still.
There's that. Larry's not here. Kevin is
Sure.
all.
I think blinds were one.
So, like I said, make sure I get all that stuff. When,
I'm using it in a different class.
because then what I'll do is I'll just post it
So that's
all
what
in
the
the
BOP
room while you're taking them.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Right. Yeah. We're gonna have the drop BOP and label it's a little different flow out.
Do I have 2 posted online for you?
That's right.
I may just be missing it.
This was everything I had at the house and down in the office.
That would be super fun.
I don't think I have it. in
So,
there.
this will be super fun.
That's on the geological one. The first geology.
Resource together.
Yeah,
don't remember it now.
Be simple.
I just misplaced it as well.
Huh, yeah, no, I don't know where that's at.
Oh,
This is all operation stuff here.
Yeah, here we are. Standard royalties, 4.5% of it in the file.
Yeah, they got a good rating on this thing. It was pretty good,
Which
if I
is in,
recall,
like,
if you did it all drawn out.
That's the
Saw
law.
something in here about government.
I do want to clarify something, and I'll get it going here in just a second before we,
Apparently, when you look at it, everyone knows the 18%.
You know what kind of thieves they are.
I'll wait till Shiner gets back.
Percentage that the leaser paid.
Oh. Clarify what you did. Kevin should be along. Let's see. And since I know you guys like to have something to do, this will be for when you leave, at the end of the day.
You paid for it. But they still exist.
Don't forget to grab one of these.
More homework?
Yeah, but you know
It's
what?
only Louisiana and Pennsylvania for non-ownership in place.
I'm gonna pass these out right now because
Rest of the states.
as I'm talking, you can, you will be able to, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, next week.
I'm going to be talking about offshore platforms, and this way you can be having your ears open, listening up for stuff that I'm talking about. Otherwise, did they pass them down? Otherwise, you will get lost trying to find the information.
Seals can be
Strategy. Stratigraphic.
And we always have to be more about them too around here because people just remember that area. Remember from now.
Okay, well, I've keyed up. I'll be back in just a moment. I'm sure you can.
Yeah. It's all assignment, just the black ones, the rest of it is for depth.
There's one out there. Okay, so I'm going to tell you one thing, and then I'm going to start into this talk. Draw you a picture, because on your test, the quiz, what I call it a quiz just for a joke, but, and in your test, I'm going to ask you to draw a formation. It's going to be an anticline that then slopes off to the right or to the west on your paper. It goes into a pancake formation. What I'm talking about is something like this. It's going to look very similar. This is what I would expect. If you have an anticline, and then it's going to slope off like so. And come up like this, and then like that, like that. Something along that line, so that you have your anticline here, and then you have your pancake formation, similar to what they would have in the Bakken. Okay, and then when you read the question, it'll make sense. But this is what I'm going to be anticipating is some sort of an anticline, and this is what they actually have down in that area. They have this huge, big, what they call pancake, but in it they've got anticlines, and so I want you to know what that is.
And that drawing will fly in the test?
Pardon?
That drawing is good enough for the test?
That's a good drawing. Yeah, I know the guy that drew that.
All right.
Yeah, that's a good drawing. That's yeah. If you just copy that one, it would be something along that line, and that would be what I'm looking for when. Okay, so we're going to look at. I'll give you a little introduction, and then we'll get started on that. This is all instruments. Huh? You're done with that? That was fun.
The labs are cool.
Yeah, that's cool. You just don't like all the lectures.
You know, the lectures are fun, it's just the tests.
The tests were hard.
Yeah.
They were. You know, I've done everything I can to try to make those tests more appreciated. Not a chance.
Are you able to get in all the labs this semester in the way that you like to do it, or are you still?
Yeah, we're going to be going in there. In fact, I'm handing out all of the project material the end of next week on Wednesday, which is way ahead of what I did with you guys, because we couldn't even get in there. No, they're running way behind our work benches again. We've got the wet benches, so we're going to use those. But the regular benches, they were supposed to have all that material to us a month ago. Contractors just aren't what they used to be. You know, I have no idea what they're doing. All they had to do was make up some simple metal, put some gauges in them, and they were done. I have no idea. Those wet benches, they took 6-7 months to construct. There's only 4 of them. Only 2 gauges, a little bit of metal. I mean, it's not. I used to contract. I know. It depends on who's pushing the contract. I have a hunch this is cost plus. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, we're going to do, in fact, we're inventing a new one. Instead of the 56 one, we're going to build a loop, which will be fun to do. That'll be an interesting one. And it looks like I might get stuck. It looks like I'm probably going to be given the opportunity to teach Instruments 3. I may have a fellow helping me out with the lab, so that's going to be taking the better parts of Instruments 2 and then going ahead and going in a little deeper so you have a good understanding. It really should be an instrument course that all of the folks that are going to be in operations should take, because it gives you a good idea of how valves work, why they are what they are, why different orifice plates work, how things are put together and all that. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot more fun than, it'll be kind of like the oil and gas stuff. It'll just be fun to know. There's quite a bit of it's in the lab. I mean, there's lecture parts, but there's quite a bit in the lab itself. So I've done instruments 4, that's real math, that's heavy into the math. Calculus and stuff, and it's just,
When are you thinking you're gonna do calculus?
yeah, that's instruments 4. I am not doing that class again.
When are you thinking about doing your operating instruments?
It'll be this fall. Yeah, and so that's, I'm really looking at that. And that'll actually be doing wiring up stuff in the electronics lab through the junction boxes and having it go into the control systems on those wet benches so that things work and react the way they're supposed to. Building them up in 3, 4, 5 different ways so that each bench is actually constructing a different control scheme, and then actually going down and tracing out stuff out and down in the, as an instrument tech, operator would, down in the simulator downstairs, and then determining what's going on and changing things and having it operate differently than it's set up and things of that nature. So it'll be a lot, I'm envisioning it being a lot of hands-on stuff. I mean, there's definitely will be lecture stuff because there's things you have to learn, but you know, valve sizing or display and things like that. But, so I want to make it more user-friendly and have it, instead of, it used to be user-friendly when Alan House did it. And before then, we've had a number of instructors since then, and they just made it academic. You know. Academic's boring.
You're not gonna be sitting in a classroom where
That's what they do across the street.
What? This isn't an academic, per se. You're not gonna be in a classroom where
You're gonna be doing things. So this will have times when we're in the classroom, but there'll be a lot of times when we're out. We're gonna, what I'm hoping to do is, okay, we talk, then we go apply it. Then we talk, then we go apply it. And then we talk, and then we go apply it. That's how I'm hoping I can set the class up. And so that's, I'd like to move instruments 2 more to that fashion also. Where we talk, and then we go apply what we're learning. So I just have to spend the summer reorienting what I'm doing on that.
So Rick, is Rick getting tired of flying down here every Friday?
Yeah, I got him coming down doing instruments 4, so I don't have to do it now. I badgered him into it, I twisted his arm. I said, you need to be down here. He said, oh, yeah, okay, I'll fly down and do it for you. So I think he's going to do instruments 4 up in Anchorage this next semester. Mm-hmm. Because he had the experience of doing it here, so he's just gonna, he's got some instrument 3 hands up there that he's taught. Did you take instruments 3, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
And so then, now he's gonna do instruments 4 up there, which is, that'll be good. Instruments 4 is not that bad. We don't actually use calculus, we use Laplace, and so that's an algebraic way of doing calculus. But you still have to understand all of the concepts and what you're actually doing in those time relationships. So, seems like I'm talking about instruments, and this is an oil and gas class. Actually, I just like all of the oil fields, so what can I say?
That's apparent.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can either enjoy life or you can be bored, and I don't do well with boredom, so. Somebody asked me, you know, what are you going to do? And I said, well, if I don't have anything to do, I will find something to do. I have about 75 different things I'd like to get done today, so it's going to be an interesting day. I always have things to do. Kevin, we're gonna go until, they've got me talking instruments right now. We're gonna go until straight up on the hour, and then we're gonna start our test. All right. So have not posted the homework, but you are welcome to look at it and study, even though I'm talking. And I'm not reviewing. What we're gonna do is move on to the next portion, and you might want to take notes as I go. That's actually the homework. Because I'm going to be talking about different rigs and giving facts and figures and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Jeremy, did I answer your question? Yes. Okay. I get to rambling, and I have to be careful at church because I'll ask you a question, and an hour and a half later I'll go, did I answer your question? We started somewhere, but I went all over the place to get there. So don't mind talking, so let's, so I'm going to give you a little bit of history, and part of the history that I'm going to give you is it's going to be the fact that oil drilling, not necessarily what we think of as offshore, but over land or over water and that type of stuff has actually been around for a while. I don't have a convenient U.S. map, but if I had a convenient U.S. map, right in this area, right about here, okay, right on the boundary line of Indiana and Ohio, there's a Lake St. Mary's that is right there, an inland lake that was actually a reservoir that was built to supply water for the what they call the Miami-Erie Canal, and that also happens to be a basin where there's been a lot of oil. In the 1890s, there was oil drilled off of barges that were, and I'll show you, actually this is a very good picture, trying to show you a picture of an inland barge, but this is an inland barge down in the Louisiana area, and they still use these type of barges in Louisiana. This is actually a fairly modern picture here. I blew it up large enough you could see it, but an inland barge, and barges were taken and hauled out on this lake, and then posts were put into the lake bottom, and then the barges were anchored off, and then wells were drilled, and oil was brought in, and they were actually over water. They were in this lake. And that was in 1891. And there was actually quite a bit of production there, and it was a pretty going concern until 1901 when Spindletop came in, and then they said, you know, our little 200 barrel a day wells are nothing compared to this thing down here and all these other wells that are coming in Texas. And within just a few years, pretty much they shut all the wells in and it went away. Oil is still there. We don't think of the Corn Belt as being oil country, but it is. They produced oil, they produced gas, and they were producing a lot. They had over 100 wells in this lake, all of them producing anywhere from 150 to 200 barrels a day. So that was a lot of oil coming out of there. Then in 1896, let's go back to our map. Now I do want you to know this map. I'm going to give you some areas on this map. I'll actually draw them in when we do. But in 1896, off of the Santa Barbara Channel, piers were built out. Piers from shore. These were not offshore rigs. What they were very similar to what were built in Azerbaijan into the Caspian Sea. They would build these long piers. Some of these were 1,000 feet long, and or longer, great big long piers way out into the water, and then oil was drilled off of platforms that were connected to shore with these long piers. That was in the very late 1800s, in about 1896. Then in the early 1900s and up through the 1920s and even into the 1930s, all along coastal Louisiana, in this area here, any of these swamp areas or low-lying areas in Texas, Louisiana, and along in there. Who in here has been in the Gulf Coast where you go out in the water? How deep does it get? How fast?
Not real fast.
Not very fast. You can walk for days, and you might get up to your chest. Yeah, days is what I mean. I mean, you're going quarter of a mile offshore. It's like right here.
There's sandbars out there that I've seen people literally miles away from shore, standing there fishing. Yeah, waist deep in their hip waders.
Yeah.
Oh, it's man-made?
And you cannot see,
No.
you can't see land. From
No,
where
but it just is like this.
you're at.
Right.
You go along there.
That actually was a good facilitator for offshore rigs because they started experimenting and building things that were just within the sight of land. Okay, barges. As we went back to this barge picture, what you would have is you post. There's a number of ways to do this with the barges, and I'll cover this. Is you actually put posts down and then anchor the barge off, or else you bring the barge in on shallow water, fill it with ballast, and set it on the bottom. Now you've got a secure platform to work from. So this is what they were doing. And then in 1937, let me go back to my world picture here. in 1937, off the coast of Louisiana, Pure Oil, about a mile offshore, actually built a fixed platform off the coast of Louisiana that was not connected to land, and it wasn't a barge. It was actually a platform, type of a platform that was built specifically. It was only in about 14 feet of water, but it was actually built specifically as a structure offshore to drill for oil. Now, some say that was the first platform. Well, okay, it was the first platform, 1937, but there's quite a array of argument on this, and what it's finally come down to is, because it got right down to who brought the first well in, like what day. I mean, it was within just days of each other. And so Kerr McGee in 47, because your book may say something else, but actually in 1947, Kerr McGee, who became Anadarko, had the first offshore platform that was actually out of the sight of land. Whenever you looked anywhere, all you saw was water. It wasn't very deep. It was only in about 18 feet of water, but still was out of the sight of land, independent. You had to service it by boat.
18 feet of water, and it was out of the sight of land?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was 18 miles offshore. 18 miles, oh, it's 20 feet of water, 18 miles offshore. 20 feet of water, 18 miles offshore, and it was, that's why I was bringing it up.
Wow.
That was in Louisiana? Or
Off of Louisiana, yeah, right off of Louisiana. And speaking of Louisiana and the Gulf Coast, let's take a look at the Gulf Coast real quick, like right here, and I'll show you what we're talking about. This is the Gulf of Mexico today. These are just general areas. These are not individual platforms. These are general areas in which there are platforms that are built. These are all the different planning areas in which there are platforms. There are thousands of platforms. Anybody flown over the Gulf? There are thousands of platforms all over the Gulf, going clear out to 200 miles. Right on the boundary of the 200-mile mark, and then go clear over here to the Yucatan Peninsula and stuff. And so the first ones, though, were just offshore far enough that you could not see into land. We'll come back in just a second. So when we look at the world, then, now we've got lots of places nowadays in which you've got lots of oil offshore. So I'm going to go ahead, and I think probably the best way is just to circle some areas in red that I would like you to know, because I'm going to give you this map. It'll be on your final. It'll be on your next quiz. First quiz is going to have this. The next two, we're going to have a map, world map. And so world map, and let's take a look at some areas. Would it be better in red or black? You know what, I'll make it in black, and then I'll yellow it in. Okay, we'll call Cook Inlet, okay, Gulf of Mexico, off of the coast of Brazil in the Santos and Campos Basin, off of the Labrador and Nova Scotia, and all of these areas up in here, up in the North Sea. These are active areas. Off of Namibia, off of Nigeria, in the Persian Gulf. Actually, gas is being produced now right here with Israel and Lebanon. They're actually creating great grief for the Russians because it looks like they may take over gas deliveries to Europe. Okay, so offshore, northwest coast of Australia. Let's see where else. Off of China. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in the Indonesia, Malaysia area. We'll just call this good for right now. I'll go ahead and yellow some of this in. So there.
Rename some of those areas maybe?
There. That gives you quite a few areas. What's that? Is that
Do we
you, Harley?
have to remember the names of each of those areas? Because I've already missed half
There
of
you
what
go.
said.
Cook Inlet, Gulf of Mexico, off of Newfoundland, off of Brazil. I had one person that put it on this side because they thought Brazil was over here. Okay, off of Brazil, and I know this is geography, but you should know where these are at. I want you to be able, when someone says, well, there's not really very much offshore production, you go, oh, you know what? Hang on a second. I just happen to have a world map, and you lay it out. Here, let me show you, you know, and there you go. And so, and then you can be able to draw all this stuff, okay, off of Nigeria, Namibia, and up in the North Sea. And actually, there's more stuff, but these are the major areas. Natural gas right here off of Lebanon and off of Israel. Persian Gulf, northwest coast of Australia around Dampier, and then off of China. There's plenty of others that I could go into. There's areas up in here, There's areas up in here. There's areas along this coast in the Red Sea, and then off of some portions of India, all over in Indonesia. But these are some of the major ones. And then there's a brand new find off of New Zealand that is just now, they're trying to figure out how they're going to harvest the oil. And so there's...
Can we access this through some other, or this is it?
Well, you're just going offshore and begin to research,
Okay.
and it'll all be named, all
Okay.
major basins.
Okay.
If we list the whole Earth, does that answer that question?
Well, hardly only you would do that. I normally ask for 4 to 5.
Okay, that's easy enough.
And so if you just remember 4 to 5 of them, and then you'll be in good shape. You know what, I should see if I can save that. Hang on just a second. I think I can save that now. Yeah, maybe not.
What did the X, hit the red X that's right there by the,
Highlight.
they highlighted? Yep, now the-
All right, let's see, copy. Exit property, it's not gonna let me save.
Make a copy. Probably not for the photo.
Make
Oh,
a
there we
copy.
go.
How's
So it's the same photo.
Say,
Save, all right. Let's just put it right there.
It
It's gonna replace it.
Do I want to
Probably
replace
rename
it?
it.
No, I want to
Just-
rename it.
just rename
Okay,
it, yeah.
so we'll
World Map
call
2.
it, hey, how's that? That'll work, as long as it saves.
You're not going to know what it is then.
I'll know what it is. I don't forget much, I really don't. That's, let's take a look at something else. So we have oil first being brought in off of Louisiana in about 1947, and 20 years later we were already in Cook Inlet, and we were building, we were putting in all kinds of platforms, even ones like this, and we were building in places that would have been completely unheard of and unthought of just a few years sooner. There was, in fact, I will tell you that prior to 1964, ships did not come into the inlet in the wintertime. Everything was brought into Seward and was shipped up by rail to Anchorage and to the interior. You did not see ship traffic past Nikiski, past the Forelands in the wintertime prior to 1964. The pilot took the first boat across and said, okay, we're going to give it a try. And I talked to him. He says, oh yeah, that was quite a test because we didn't know we'd ever done that before. In the wintertime when there was ice and then heading on into the Port of Anchorage. Port of Anchorage closed down in the winter. Yes, sir.
Would it sound strange if I said I would not feel very comfortable on that monopod?
The monopod? I would feel very comfortable. I've been on that before. That's a very solid platform.
3 or 4 legs.
Oh, no. It looks like this under the water. Hang on, I'll show
friends that
you.
work on it this very day.
It looks like this. It comes down this way. Just a second. It comes
As
down
long
this
as the
way.
food is good, you don't care.
Okay, here's the house up here. Okay? And then what it does is it comes down like this, like this. And if you look at it from the top, it's like this. And you've got this huge area like so. you drill down through, all your drilling string goes down this way, and so you're drilling right down and through. The legs come up like this. I should have made those in black. All the legs come up this way, and then you drill down through the center, and then this gives it very, very much stability. It's very stable. The bad part is not that it's unstable this way. The bad part is all the cantilevering that they've done up here. You can only cantilever out just so much. And then what happens? You got a lot of stress load. You've got to counterbalance that stress load, and then you also cantilever out so much that you go too far on your angle. That was one of the big hazards with the Osprey platform, is it was built for a small drilling platform, production platform. It was never meant to be a great big huge platform, and they've added and added, and they've had to really go in and re-engineer because it wasn't built for some of the things that they finally ended up doing. And so you look at these platforms, they got a lot of stuff hanging way out.
It's typical.
Not safe. Some of that stuff you've got to, I mean, you can cantilever out a long ways. You can go out this way, but then you've got to have a support this way, and I've seen multiple supports. You know, you get those cantilevers out where they come up this way and then they come up that way, but still it all comes back onto angles and how much stress load you can carry and what kind of weight loads you have. So in Cook Inlet, we ended up with a lot of platforms, and we talked about, we've got, we're obviously not like the Gulf of Mexico, but the Osprey, the Shell C, the Shell A, the Baker, the Dillon, and then over to MacArthur River Field, you've got everything. You've got the Grayling, the Steelhead, the Monopod, you've got the Spur and the Spark, and on up to Bruce and Granite Point, and all kinds of platforms all over the place in Cook Inlet. Starting right here with Shell A, and then going ahead and building on. And like I said, prior to '64, nobody went past here in the wintertime. They would come up this far, but they said the ice was too thick. It was not negotiable. You couldn't get through the ice. And some of those winters, we've had icebreakers in here before. In '71, we had an icebreaker because the ice was solid from here up. It was very strange. You could go down to the forelands. I worked for Chevron, or not for Chevron then. I was working for 71. I was in the Air Force. And we would go down to the beach and you could see the water flowing out from under the ice during the tides. Yeah, and so you could see moose out walking around. And so the ice was 5 feet thick in the inlet, solid. You could walk on it. That was a brutal winter. We set the U.S. record in the Brooks Range that winter at 80 below. And it was 50 below in Kenai. Well, 48 below, if you want to be technical. Numerous times. It went for a week at 40 below or colder. And it went 40 below in December, January, February, and March. Like I said, it was a hard winter. And so, yeah, and so things have changed. Let's keep going. So we've got a lot of different offshore, and offshore has opened up a lot of area. I'll give you a little bit of an idea of platforms. These are some platforms, offshore platforms. This is a good view, just a general view of different types. I think I have this online. Kind of gives you some idea. You've got fixed platforms. We have fixed platforms out here, even though they have skirts around them for repelling the ice. The ones in the inlet are considered fixed because they're anywhere from about 100 to, say 70 to over 125, 150 feet. But they can be built down to 1,500 feet. I think the Bullwinkle platform is like 1,600 feet, something like that, in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's considered a fixed platform. Compliant towers, they say to 3,000. The tallest that I know of is the Petronius. It's about 2,000 feet, and they pretty much have gotten away from compliant towers, and we'll cover those in detail. But they're made to flex, You know, where a building, a skyscraper will move maybe 0.5%. These are made to flex up to 2% or more. And they'll actually sway, you know, and then sea stars are a form of floating production type. I don't generally cover sea stars. They're just a type that these have pretty much gone away because of the spars. You have your floating production systems, which are really a type of semi-submersible. So I cover these under semi-submersibles, and I think we might get to semi-submersibles today. That's where you actually have a framework built where you will ballast up and put the thing down in the water so that it's affected very little by the waves and the swells. It's riding low in the water. It's like the difference between a boat that bounces on the water and one that kind of plows through the water. You know, one will be slapping and bouncing all over, and the other one just kind of chugs. You have your tension leg platforms, which are literally, they're not really a semi-submersible. They will hook to the bottom, and then you actually pull them down, and they have these long steel bands that are to give them a connecting point. And then you have subsea systems. Spars are floating corks. I'll run you through a film on the Genesis platform. We have a lot of students that are working on the Shell Perdido platform about 150 miles offshore that were recruited out of this program about 5-6 years ago to go to work and start that one up. And those particular platforms produce as much as entire fields up on the North Slope. They'll produce like Caparic or Alpine and vast amounts of oil down the Gulf of Mexico. And some of it's just coming in because the technology, for example, these spars, there was no technology for these to go into deep water. These can go to 10,000 feet. These can go to 10,000 feet. These can go down to 3,000 to 5,000 feet. You know, they're getting away from the fixed and going to the floating type that are connected to the bottom. So those are some of the things that we'll be looking at. I'll give you a quick overview of, give you some, I wasn't going to use this, but I think this might be good for you, just to get kind of an overview of what platforms are all about. There's a platform at night in the North Sea. That is a monster. Some of those platforms in the North Sea have 1,000 people working on them.
Size of the town.
Oh yeah, they really are. They're working 3 on and 3 off. They have, a lot of them have double rigs, and they are producing monstrous amounts of gas and oil, and they're actually doing the production on the platform, all the cleanup and everything, and they're sending not finished products, but clean oil into shore.
And they got all the space to have all the equipment to clean up the oil.
What's that?
So they've got the amount of space to be a whole.
That's right. You've got to have the space if you're going to be doing that. And so, and their weather out there is as bad as our weather off of, say, in the North Sea when you're going out of Seward and trying to get over to Prince William Sound. When the storms are blowing out there, they get 50 to 60 foot waves, and it's kind of like the Bering Sea in a lot of ways.
One of those went up in flames here a few years back, didn't it? If I
It
remember
did.
correctly, yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing, and they didn't realize it was on fire.
Yeah.
Their communication lines were down, everything was down. It was an awful disaster. It was, everybody died.
Yeah.
And there was no recourse. If you went over the side, you died in the water because the water was cold down to 30-degree range or 30s.
Plus, what is that, a couple hundred feet to the water?
Huh?
That's probably got to be a couple hundred feet to the
Yeah.
water. That alone probably
People
breaks
jumped, but then they died in the water from exposure.
Yeah.
They weren't equipped. It was a disaster waiting to happen, and the right thing took place, and when they should have been shutting down their gas line transfers from one platform to another, they kept pumping because the communication lines were down and there was no way to contact. Yes, sir.
They didn't have survival suits? Or
No, this predated survival suits, and there were enough survival suits if there were any. When you talk that many people, they weren't equipped. Everything's changed now. And actually a lot of America's offshore industry has stepped up because of that disaster. That was a terrible, terrible disaster. I think I have a film on that somewhere.
I remember watching it
Yeah.
years ago.
Anything that could have gone wrong went wrong during that. Everything was wrong. It really was. It was just bad. This is a bad day out in the water. And that's a real picture, that's not an enhanced photo.
Is the platform tipping or the boat that's taking the picture?
That is just the day on the water, out in the, this is at night when the flare and it's in the rain and stuff like that and the storm. And I've been on platforms when it looked just like that. You get a big flare blowing. Actually, it used to be like that in the Kiski at night. All the platforms and all the plant facilities all had big flares like that. In the early 1970s, it never got dark out north. There was always a red glow over it. There were young kids that were born and raised and grew up out there and didn't know what a dark night was because it never got dark. So let's see, we looked at, we're going to look at some drill ships and different things. We're going to look at offshore platforms, jack-up rigs. Let's see, that'll, typical of, I'm going to take you through this particular one. This is the troll platform, which is kind of an unusual one. There's the monopod. Let's go ahead and, what time? I've got 12, 14 minutes, so let's take a look at some stuff here. Let's go to jack-up rigs. We had a jack-up rig down in Homer. Did anybody get a chance to go down and see it when it was
Yeah, I
down?
saw it when it was parked there, right before they hauled it up when they were.
Yep, that, we've had different jack-up rigs. We had one spend the winter parked next to the rig tender's dock years ago down up in the Kiski. And when it had sunk itself, let itself ice in and had its legs up and everything like that.
No, Little Village, they park them down there.
Huh?
Fort Graham,
Where's that?
south of Homer, Little Village of Fort Graham. They had
Right.
two that get winterized over there.
That'd be a good spot. That's Ice-Free Harbor, isn't it? It's pretty well protected too.
It's pretty neat. They're all jacked up.
Yeah,
Doing maintenance on them. See big, huge legs. It's
they're
scary.
huge. They really are. Take a look at right here, and this is the student that passed away here. A couple of Mr. Tim Jolly gave me these photos, and he'd gone down. He wanted me to go ahead and have these, but this was that. He said he didn't realize how big it was until he pulled over the hill, and he says, "Here's this thing. Looks like a skyscraper down there." And he says, and then he went down the spit and it just kept getting bigger.
That's what I thought. I didn't know what it was at first. Then I got down there. That's jack-up. That's the one that's going.
Yeah, well, it's a monster, and it has a very big drill rig on it. Now, this drill rig is meant for deep water, but they're using it up here. You're going to notice, I'm going to bring this up on some of this stuff, is you're going to notice the difference between the little spindly drill rigs that we have out on these platforms and some of these monster drill rigs that are built for deep water drilling. They will hold 300 to 400,000 pounds, where some of these out here will only hold up to 150,000. A lot of difference between those. Especially you start getting down deep, you're pulling a lot of weight, okay, and you're supporting a lot of weight. These legs, what these legs do is they jack down, and when they jack down, they will actually, this is some different views of this. So this is what will happen when you take that platform, which we just saw right back here. This particular platform is sitting in the water, and the legs are jacked up, okay, with the legs up like that, and they have regular gear and ratchet assembly with motor drivers that will move these legs up and move these legs down, and then you have great big shoes on the bottom to allow you to go ahead and jack these down. In fact, they had to modify the shoes on the one that Buccaneer, no, it's a different one that came up. I think Fury brought it up. They had to modify the shoes because of the Cook Inlet mud and the unstableness of the inlet bottom. Well, what you do is you jack these legs down. Now, what they've done here is they've actually jacked this way up. If you jack it up above the water, and then your water level would be right in here. You go above whatever your wave height is going to be, that becomes your working platform, and then you're going to go ahead and drill down through this. They're laid out in lots of different ways and fashions. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is one that's being towed. This is right here in the inlet. This is when it was set up in the inlet, looking up at Mount Susitna from the very end of North Road. And then that was up in the kitchen lights unit. And then this is actually in the Gulf of Mexico. And here, they don't have, some of these, they've got their heliport right on the side here, and they're drilling off of this area here. Sometimes they'll have a fifth leg or something like that. Nice big stout rig. But if you take a look at, this one is set up a bit different, where you actually are off to the side here, and then you're going ahead and drilling down. It'll go down to about 400, 450 feet of water, and that's about maximum, okay? Much deeper than that, you're gonna have to go to a drill ship or something of that nature. It's gonna be strictly drilling. You don't use jack-up rigs for production or anything else. They're just strictly a drilling device. They can be towed around, as you saw pictures being towed, so they're very mobile. And they're extremely handy for that area that's in between where you go with a drilling barge and where you would want to go offshore out to say on the continental shelf or in something like the Persian Gulf where it's not real deep, things of that nature. Cook Inlet, for example. Places that are not considered deep water. They're just, that would be all shore type water. And so, let's see, I think I have, let me look just a second, right here. This is a good picture of one being towed. This is not in the inlet, but that's a good picture of one being actually towed. And then jack the legs all the way up. You'd think, okay, that's got to be real tippy on top. But lots of ballast down here, and it doesn't. And with the way the legs are, there's not as much wind loading as you would think. And then you go ahead and just tow it. And it does not tip over. It's built to, like a sailboat, to go ahead and have some list to it, but it doesn't tip. So that's essentially what you have. It's an exploratory device for exploration. Okay, and for drilling. Now I did cruise over the drill barge real quick. I'll go back to the drill barge because these are still being used. We had this right here, and I want to go back that in that barge.
Is it about 100 by 40 or something? 100 by 50?
This barge?
Is it rectangle? Yeah.
Oh yeah, they can be pretty. They can be all kinds of sizes. And if you really take a look at this, what they do with these is this is on the bayous in Louisiana. Anybody ever been on the bayous in Louisiana, Mississippi? Okay. And so you've got these bayous and you've got your quarters that you live in, and this is just like a platform, only it's a barge. And actually, they've got production facilities on barges over here. They've got your drilling right here, and they're moving around in different parts of the swamp because that's where the oil is. And so what will happen is a typical situation. This happened with some of the hurricanes that came through Greece in these last few years down in those areas. Is you would go ahead and you'd pull up, you refloat the barge, and you move it inland to a nice secure spot where it's not going to take as much abuse. When you're all done, then you move the barge back, you resink it back down on the bottom, and then you go back to drilling again. Not a big deal. And a lot of times what you'll have is you'll have a post and you'll have rings that are attached to the barge itself. Those rings will then be clamped around, and then that can move up and down. Not much tidal action, but it keeps it from moving around. And so it's both set on the bottom and then also secured in that fashion. You bring equipment in, access is by boat. There's not normally by helicopter unless an emergency. That's a pretty inexpensive system, actually. Think of it like this. It's no different than if you were doing it on land, only here the access is by water. And so these drilling barges, about 50 feet, and you're maxed out. 50 foot of water, and you've got to have a pretty high side on your barge, because that's a lot. 35 to 40 feet would be more realistic, but I have read stories of where they built them to go into 50 foot of water. That's pretty deep for a barge. They're mobile. I'm not going to say they're strictly drilling. You have some production facilities that are built on barges, but normally when we think of barges, we think of drilling and exploration, not production. Though when they took the Chevron refinery apart in 1992, 93, 94, we parted it out and then shipped it to Papua New Guinea. And the talk there for a while was they were going to mount it on a barge, a big, huge seagoing barge, this full refinery, and have it anchored offshore so that they didn't have people trying to get into the refinery and cause damage. So they did end up building it on shore, but for a while it was going to be built offshore, and I thought that's going to be wild. I couldn't imagine a refinery being built on a barge. Let's see, let's go back to, we'll go to drill ships and then we'll call it good. But on drill ships, these are deep water. These will go into places nobody else goes. They will go to these unexplored places. They will drill in areas that will be 10,000 feet deep or more. I'll show you an old drill ship. This was an old retrofit. And so what you've got is that you're going to have two crews on a drill ship. You're going to have the crew that does nothing but run the ship. And then you're going to have the crew that does nothing but just drill and those types of things. And what they'll do is they'll actually cut a hole right through the ship, all the way down. And it won't sink the ship because you put a shaft all the way up. And so and they call that a moon pool, M-O-O-N, moon pool. And you can literally, as you're going through the water, you can look right down and see the water passing by. And so that is when you get stabilized and anchored off or wherever you're going to do your work, then you go ahead and drill. And they'll drill down 10, 11, 12,000 feet down. 10,000 feet's a good figure, though, to think about. Right now, that's about the limits for everybody because of getting into pressures and things of that nature to start drilling. What's happened now, in those days, limitation was trying to remain fixed in a position. Now what's happened is we've gone to more modern type ships. This one was built specifically as a drill ship. And these will have multiple bow thrusters. They'll have global positioning, satellite positioning. And then what you'll do is you'll coordinate your satellite positioning with your bow thrusters, and then you'll anchor off. You'll set your anchors, but then you'll also be, so that you're not putting stress on your anchors, you also have positioning with your bow thrusters and those things to keep yourself where you need to be. And so this is, and also now you can go back, and if you've got this is a real good picture right here. This gives you a good idea. Notice the size of this drill rig. That is one very stout drill rig. This is definitely built just for drilling. It doesn't look like your normal ship. And this will go into all kinds of water, and then it can also start up a well and production, and then have enough that you can go ahead and offload into it and test wells and everything else. But you'll have all of these positioners on here to go ahead and hold it in place. They're self-sustaining. They'll go out for months at a time. Do long, long shifts. If you go to work on one, it's like the whalers of ancient times. You go out, you might be out for a month, 2 months, 3 months before you ever come back to shore. So if you go to work on one of those and you're hoping to hit some exotic port, it might be some barren spot in Antarctica for all I know. I mean, it's not going to be all of the local wonderful places. So those are some of the things. This is the Glomar Explorer. This is another one. Look at the size of the rig on this one. This is a tremendously stout drill rig. Set up for deep water. This is another one. This shows you, this one especially is, this is Russian, I believe. And this one is built not only for deep water, but deep drilling. Okay, that means 10,000 feet down, and then another 15,000 feet when you're drilling. So you've got 25,000 feet of string hanging on this rig right here.
Would that be carried with them, or would they have like a supply?
Oh, no.
They'd bring that, everything?
Very good question, Steve. These things carry all their groceries. They carry
No, not
all,
just food, but I mean all the.
they
pipe
carry
and
all
the
their
string.
pipe. They carry all the
Everything.
repair parts. They carry all the cable, everything. They are a self-sustaining package. And when they go out for months at a time.
Yeah.
Now, if they're going to resupply or retrofit, then they have a port that they're already set up to go into. For example, suppose they're working in the South Pacific or the South Atlantic, then they'd be going into either Cape Town in South Africa, or they'd be going into Melbourne in Australia, or they'd be going into someplace like that where they could go ahead and retrofit, or Perth, Australia, one of those, or maybe somewhere Buenos Aires or some port down, probably not Buenos Aires, but maybe Sao Paulo or one of those, Rio de Janeiro. And so they would have a facility that they could pull into, retrofit, and do what they're going to do. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'll be back. We'll be getting started. Okay?